As discussions on the double-track system for free SHS admissions rages, members of academia are cautioning government about the dire consequences it will have on tertiary education in the near future. President Akufo-Addo over the weekend stated government will not be distracted by the criticisms and that contrary to the fears expressed, the system will rather lead to an increase in the quality of teaching and learning.
The objectives of the double-track system are to create room to accommodate the increase in enrollment. Furthermore, it will reduce class sizes. It will increase the contact hours between teachers and students and increase the number of holidays. All this, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be achieved with the existing infrastructure. Far from it being a new intervention that is being experimented in Ghana, it is noteworthy that it has been implemented elsewhere and found to be successful in countries as diverse as the United States of America, Australia, Kenya, and Japan. I am confident that the end result of the system will lead to an increase in quality of our SHS structure. Free SHS has come to stay.
From Vice-Chancellor of the University of Ghana, Professor Ivan Adai-Mensah, who warned government earlier about the wholesale implementation of the free SHS policy rather than allowing parents who can pay to do so, has described as unfortunate attacks on those who have publicly criticized the double-track policy by members of government, including the president.
At the moment, if you look at it critically, it looks as if it is one of the few options left. Time is short. Come September, schools are beginning. But it has its possible consequences, if I may say so. At the moment, already with the 3 years and the current contact hours that people have, we are complaining at the university level that when they come, they are ill-prepared. And even at the examination level, just about 10 to 12% of those who take the SHS exam are going into the universities. If you stretch it to all the other senior high schools, I don't think it comes to more than 20–25%. So a whole lot of other people also are being left out of tertiary education, all because we don't have other avenues for them to go into. Now, starting this shift system, yes, it's going to open avenues for more people to be absorbed. But is it not going to mean people going in and just cram, go and do the exam without having enough time to sit down and assimilate? People are saying that they will have enough time to assimilate.
Yeah.
No.
So there will be more contact hours.
There will be more contact hours. Contact hours means that you're going to sit in the classroom with them. But contact hours alone is not enough. But if even there is more contact hour, fine. Have we thought about the net effect also 3 years hence on the university? You have 2 streams of high school. 3 years hence, are we going to get 2 streams into the universities? Is there going to be enough facility in the universities to absorb those people? All these are issues that we have to start thinking about.
The effects on tertiary education as well.
Exactly.
But do you get a sense that that has been thought about? Or we're just thinking about getting students into the SHS without thinking about the tertiary?
I think we didn't even think of it when we started the secondary level one a year ago. This thing has come as if it was not foreseen. And we're doing the usual fire service solution approach, you know. But it could have been foreseen, and it was foreseen because it was one of the possibilities that I mentioned when I met the committee. And a few days ago, I talked to one of the members of the committee, and you were talking about Estonia. All he said, "Oh, Ivan, say and I said, well, it doesn't really matter. But the problem has arisen. We have to solve it. And this is one of the ways that we can tackle it. Whether it is the best way or not, only implementation will prove it.
Professor Adai Mensah says the time has come for government to rethink the entire free SHS policy. In a related development, Minister of State in charge of tertiary education, Professor Kwesi Yankah, has asserted that the double-track enrollment policy would augment and improve government's efforts at providing access to education for all children. He argued that the free SHS policy isn't insufficient to absorb all beneficiaries, adding an additional 180,000 students would have been excluded from the mainstream program without the double-track enrollment policy. He believes the policy will optimize the usage of classroom space to impact knowledge in children. Professor Yankah was speaking at the 10th Congregation of the University of Mines and Technology in Tarkwa.
This policy is in no way a signal that the free SHS policy is in tatters. No. Or has been suddenly put in reverse gear. No. Just as the free SHS policy in its first year enabled 90,000 extra students to go to high school, the double-track policy is meant to rescue some 180,000 students whose educational future could be curtailed or jeopardized. Government is simply saying these boys and girls are stranded. Let's be creative and rescue these kids at a critical part of their lives. Let's be compassionate, or else posterity will never forgive us. Instead of using classrooms for only parts of the year, why don't we optimize the use of space by teaching the first batch? And while the classrooms and other facilities lie idle, another batch comes in to use it. It simply says, let's not waste unutilized space while kids are stranded.
Professor Yankah adds government will support universities to enable them accommodate a lot more students to be churned out of the free senior high school policy.
I'm aware that the total number of applicants seeking quality engineering education keeps increasing in this university. It is unfortunate that due to the inadequacy of academic and residential facilities, a huge number of qualified applicants are skipped each year. I am told that last year, out of 1,596 qualified applicants who sought admission into this university, only 642, or 40%, were offered admission. Government is aware that the free SHS policy will lead to an influx of qualified applicants knocking on the doors of universities in 2020, and will do everything possible to enable you cope with admissions.
The Executive Director of the National Population Council has justified her call for the enforcement of a policy that will limit the number of children Ghanaian couples have. Dr. Letitia Adelaide Appiah says the country would be better able to manage its population if the number of children per couple is capped at 3, arguing that she does not think the taxpayers' money should be used in supporting people who have given birth to more than 3 children. Though her stance has been sharply criticized, the MPC board says she still stands by her comments. Maxwell Agbagba has more in this report.
The executive director sometime last week said, among others, that couples must be made to bear the social cost of every child they give birth to beyond the stipulated 3. This has, however, not gone down well with the public, with many arguing that government should not channel its frustrations with the implementation of free SHS on Ghanaian couples. Others wondered why government would want to regulate what people do in their bedrooms instead of focusing on more important matters. But speaking on the sidelines of the relaunch of the Fred Sai Institute, Dr. Appiah said the enforcement of the policy will go a long way to improve education in Ghana and other aspects of the economy.
I think I still stand by it because life is full of caps all over. You know, even your BP has a cap. Your height has a cap. Your weight has a cap. You know, you can decide to go outside the cap and bear the consequences. You know, I don't think that taxpayers' money should be made to support people to have 10 children and then in the process die and leave orphans for us to take care of them. And again, now the last budget that we made, we're talking about a luxury tax. I don't think that I don't have a luxury car, I'm not earning 10,000, but if I were earning in the luxury tax, I don't think that I would want that money to be spent on somebody who's going to have a 6-7 child. No, I don't think that's how I want my money to be spent. And I don't know if you middle class people, that's how you want your money to be spent, you know, because seriously, you bear the brunt, most of the brunt. You pay for the free SHS, then you take your children to private schools. You pay for NHIS, then you go to private hospitals because the places are crowded. And as if that is not enough, when there's a problem in your family because you are okay, they look up to you to support. And then if God forbid they die, they still come to you to fund that. And then when the woman is going to give birth and unfortunately dies in the process, you, after burying her, they bring the children again to you to take care of. Because human beings, when you leave us on our own, it could be a little chaotic. And for education to work, we need that. You know, there's a woman I know, one of my nephews told me, he's a teacher. And he says there's one woman who has a child in class 1, class 2, up to class 6. The children come to school hungry. And no books, no pen. You cannot get educated on an empty stomach.
The regional director of the International Planned Parenthood Federation of Africa, Lucien Kwaku, explained people tend to be more impoverished the higher the number of dependents they have, and cited China's population control measures.
The Chinese, this is what they did. The Chinese, it's one baby family. If you give a second one, you have to pay more than that. Of course, they have reverted their policies in terms of population policy, but it has been there. It has been there for the last 24, 30 years, whereby they think that if you deliver a second baby, it can be a sort of additional social cost for the whole country. That past what we are doing for family planning, despite what we are doing, some people they think that there's no need. There is no need. So they do, and then we expect the government to play their role as parent.
President of Planned Parenthood Association of Ghana, Professor Rita Dixon, on her part, highlighted how population growth impacts on the resources of a country.
Scarce resources and the fact that the number of children that we produce obviously has, an implication on the resources of every country. And for that matter, we are interested that we want to get people informed, well informed, and then educated so they can make informed decisions.
You're watching Joy News when we're taking a break, but still ahead, we weigh arguments for and against the revised Mary deal as the majority leader says the Attorney General is taking another look at it.
To interrogate the figures, to know that what we are doing, what decision that we are taking is in the best interest of the country.
Also in the bulletin, a 25-year-old who was on remand for 3 years for stealing a mobile phone has finally gained his freedom. We'll be back after the break. Stay tuned. The government is coming for heavy criticism in recent days after a new agreement to replace the controversial AmeriPower deal was sent to Parliament with terms described as worse than the original deal. The deal, which introduces Miscellaneous as the new independent power producer, extends the life of the Ameri agreement, which would have elapsed in 2020 to 2030. The Mines and Energy and Finance Committees in Parliament, after complaints from the minority, decided to hold off approval of the agreement. Majority Leader Oseche Mensah-Bonsu explains government decided it would be necessary for a relook at the entire deal.
To be very consultative in this. We're talking about clawing back some gains to the state. If people are raising issues about the gains that we are clawing back, to say that, but put together we may not even get anything, or maybe it will be minimal. Some are even saying that we may even end up spending more. We need to interrogate the figures to know that what we are doing, what decision that we are taking is in the best interest of the country, which explains why. And I spoke to the finance minister, I spoke to the Attorney General, and we all decided, plus the minister responsible for energy, and we decided to tarry a while, have a closer look at it, and then I guess when we come back, in about a month or so time when we shall come back, these things would have been well done and well considered, and then we'll be in a position to take a decision. Even bills that we do, they are not sacrosanct. Occasionally you do introspection and and then realize that there's something that we could have done better. If there's anything that we could do better as a country in interrogating these agreements, why not? It's the only reason. We want to do what is best for this country.
We'll be speaking with the head of communications at the Energy Ministry, Kofi Damwa, in a bit, but let's first walk you through what we know about the deal so far. So Ameri was brought in courtesy a 250 megawatt power purchase agreement in 2015 that was valued at $510 million, and it was to shore up electricity supply during an energy crisis at the time. The deal has been heavily criticized. After it emerged, Ghana could have obtained the 10 power plants delivered by Ameri if it had just gone directly to the manufacturer. Now, the then opposition New Patriotic Party vowed to review the 5-year deal if it won power and set up the Philip Addison Committee in 2017 on assumption of power. The government concluded that the agreement was overpriced by $150 million. Now let's look at the revised deal with Mytilineos. The contract duration is no longer 5 years, it is now 15 years. The price per kilowatt hour has reduced from 11.7125 cents per kilowatt hour to 14.5919. Now, Government of Ghana claims that it is saving in excess of $405 million. And the Government of Ghana, under this new deal, will have to pay $39 million to Ameri, and then Mytilineos will also have to pay $52.16 million to Ameri before the deal can be consummated. Now, there are arguments by the Africa Center for Energy Policy, and they argue against this deal. And why? They say, why is government revising the deal to 15 years when the plant ownership will revert to Ghana in 2 years? The other argument is, why are we opting to pay over $1 billion over the next 12 years instead of $300 million for the remaining 2 years? And then why are we also opting for a tariff of 11.7 cents per kilowatt hour for the next 12 years when the tariff will drop to 10.47 cents per kilowatt hour when Government of Ghana takes over in 2 years? And these are the questions I'll be putting to the Kofi Damwa, who's head of communications at the Energy Ministry. Thank you for making time to join us, Mr. Damwa.
Thank you, Aaron.
So I just want us to go over the questions that ASEP is asking. They are asking, why are we revising the deal to 15 years, from 5 years to 15 years, when plant ownership or the ownership of the plant come to Ghana or revert to Ghana in just 2.5 years?
Okay, thank you very much. There's a fundamental flaw with the analysis that has been done by ASEP, and it has to do on two basic levels. One, there's the assumption that after the 5 years or whichever time that we are able to pay the $510 million to Ameri, then the cost of production or operation and maintenance of the Ameri plant reverts to zero. Because if not, then in the analysis they have done,
it doesn't revert to zero. In fact, they've made the point that it reverts to 10.4.
Okay, so then a fairer analysis to have done would have been that peg the 10.4 cents per kilowatt hour over the 15-year period. Then we can have a side-by-side analysis of what is being done. But the fundamental problem...
But the 10.4 cents per kilowatt hour wouldn't be paid over the 15-year period that you're
talking. So when would it be paid over?
It will be paid until the plant comes to its the end of its useful life.
What's the useful life of the plant? So you see, again, like I am saying, what they have sought to do is to peg it at 5 years and use a figure that is estimated for 5 years. And then, bear in mind also the fact that at the current levels, Government of Ghana is responsible for the production of, or for producing fuel for Ameri to be powered. Now, if you do this analysis where you're comparing a 5-year cost to a 15-year cost and then claim that we are losing money, that's a very unfair argument, even assuming that it will remain at the 10.4 cents per kilowatt hour within the time frame that we are talking about. A fairer analysis would be to look at the 10.7 cents per kilowatt hour over the 10-year period and extrapolate that to match the 15 years that you're seeing. If not, then what you have is a lopsided analysis that presents a certain scenario, which is not necessarily the case. Again, there's the assumption that the 10.7 will result in a no capacity charge situation. This no capacity charge situation is what will result in the 10.7
cents per kilowatt hour that you see. But that's not necessarily the case, because government has taken a decision that thermal energy should not be in the ambit of VRA, and that we are of the opinion that it is better served if those thermal assets are given to private entities who can then raise the necessary capital and then produce power. Government,
that then becomes a government policy. So government decides.
An already approved government policy.
Yes. So because of this government policy, we are having to make this shift. But the argument, and maybe let me bring this argument
we are not having
closer
to make this shift because of this government's policy. What I'm saying is that the analysis done by ACEP does not take into consideration
what government has decided
policy
to do.
Yes.
Now, the other thing I'd want to, the other analogy I'd like to bring up, which probably would help people out there at home appreciate this a lot better, is taking a vehicle. You're going to purchase a vehicle. On high purchase, you have 2.5 years to finish paying off the vehicle, which at the end of which period you'd have paid $510 million for the vehicle, to now having to pay for the life for the vehicle over a 12-year period, as it is now, and paying at the end of it over $1 billion. How do you defend or justify an argument like that?
So let's take it that based on your expenditures or based on your income that you are earning, you have agreed with the bank that you are going to make a payment of $102 million every year. You've now realized that, look, based on the trend that you've been going through, based on your income, you are unable to make those payments. Now,
so is that the case, that government can't make the payments? Is government falling back on its payments to America?
As it stands now, we owe America quite a substantial amount of money. And again, let's be fair, VRA has not been able to make those payments, because you see, under the original deal that was made, the government then at the time said that it was going to take up 9 cents per kilowatt hour out of the 14.5 cents per kilowatt hour. Government has never made that payment, because in reality, government doesn't have the money to be able to support those payments. So since this deal was originally conceived, government has not been able to make that contribution. Again, significantly, it has never been budgeted for anywhere. If you doubt this, look into the 2016 budget. It was not even budgeted for.
Well, we're not dealing with the previous government, we're dealing with the current government. Why don't you budget for that?
I'm saying that what you have is a deal that we saddled ourselves with. So going back to your analogy, we agreed that we're going to pay $102 million every year. We realize that we are falling behind on our payments, and there's a risk of the bank coming to repossess.
Who's to blame for government falling back on its payments?
May I
no, but I want to find out who's to blame.
But you've given an analogy, and it will help with the explanation for our viewers to understand the matter, if you allow me to flow a little bit. The $102 million, we are unable to make those payments. Now, there's a risk of the bank coming to repossess the vehicle that we have entered into a contractual obligation with them to pay. So what we have done is gone back to the bank and said, listen, we are having severe challenges with the agreement that we have. If we can extend the period for us and then reduce the payments that we have to make, then it will make it easier for us to breathe. And whilst we are at it and whilst we are doing that, please make sure that you advance some money, or you as a bank will take over the insurance of the vehicle over the period of time, as well as the fueling, among other things that will help me survive easier. The bank has agreed. But again, let's be real and let's look at the factors as they are. Would you expect that after the bank has agreed that, listen, if you are indeed struggling to make these payments, I'm going to extend it by 10 more years to ensure that you have a 15-year period to pay. Is it realistic to expect that the bank will still calculate it in such a way that you pay $510 million only during the 15 years that you're going to?
We wouldn't have had to come to that argument if you could, or if government could have paid off.
So one of the most interesting arguments that was made, even by the NPP, even in opposition, was that the deal was too expensive. And that is clear. When you look at the West African Power Pool, which has been established, and then also even bet your minds to the fact that in 2016, in 2015, when we were buying power from even Cote d'Ivoire, and this is power that we were importing, we're buying it at 9 cents per kilowatt hour. And then avert your minds to the fact that right here in this country, we were seeking to produce power at over 14 cents per kilowatt hour, calculating the difference. Then you realize the extent to which this is not functional for us. Now,
Granted, Nanadamwa, if you have had to deal with then in opposition, the NPP complained and it indicated that this deal was bad. How do you then justify a deal that was so bad? You have 2 years, 2.5 years to exhaust or go on that deal. You stretch the deal by another 12 years.
The fundamental assumption in what you are saying, the 2.5 years, is that we are current on all payments. We are not. So again, if you are to even...
I would ask, who's to blame for government falling back? Is it because, and we all know that in recent times, government has had to reduce electricity tariffs. Is it as a result of the reduction in electricity tariffs that we are unable to make up this payment?
The factual statement will show you that this reduction, the payment...
Because it was one of the arguments that you put forward.
The payment fallback that has been happening since 2016 and beyond. So it is not as a measure of the reduction in tariffs. That cannot be.
No, but if we're paying a certain amount and you come in and you say you're asking us to pay less, then you have less money to pay Ameri.
The factual determination of these matters would show you that we have always had that deficit from the very beginning of the deal. That is one fact. The second thing that we also all need to look at critically is this. We have always said that the Ameri deal is too expensive for us as a country. We have always said that. Even in opposition, that was the point of this government. What we have sought to do is to try and make the best out of a bad deal. Now, you see, I'll give you another analogy in response to this. If you are going to build on an empty lot, you know that you have the freedom to construct what it is that will suit your needs. But if you go to meet a building already there and existing, you have two options. One, to buy the building, break it down and build what you want, which relates to termination in this deal, or to look at the building as it exists and seek to maximize the space that is within. So break a wall here, build a new wall here, among others, to maximize that space, which is the option that we have chosen.
Another option.
The other option that would have been practical is to terminate. But the termination would have ensured that government would have had to cough up $370 million in the instant.
One other option I may want to get you to avert your mind to is the fact that you could have just stuck with the current agreement and let it expire in 2.5 years, after which the power plant
what that
would
opinion is ignoring is the fact that
you're falling back on your payment.
Aside the falling back, there are several guarantees and liabilities that the government of Ghana is liable to Ameri if you look at how the deal was constructed in the original instance. For example, there's a guarantee that has been given to Ameri, and anytime we fall back in payments, it just takes Ameri walking into a bank and saying, look, I'm calling this guarantee, and immediately whatever amount of money that is advanced to them is taken as a loan on the books of the Republic of Ghana.
The question that hasn't been answered this evening is, why are we falling back on our payments? And who's to blame for us falling back on our payments?
The reality of it is that the deal that we struck is too expensive and we cannot afford it. That is how come
this deal that we said that Ameri didn't deserve zero or didn't deserve anything on the contract at all, because essentially it had no hand in it, really. It just was a middleman that facilitated and walked away $150 million. Now we're going to give Ameri $39 million.
Well, you see, because
that's from us, and miscellaneous will pay another.
A bad deal has been signed. And whether you like it or not, we all have to acknowledge the fact that once the government of the day, which was then the legal custodian of the entity called Ghana, had gone to agree to sign such a deal, we are bound, legally bound, to make or advance such payments. We cannot do anything about some of these obligations that the previous government willingly and knowingly committed the people of the Republic of Ghana to making such payments. And again, that's why I'm saying that this may not necessarily be the best deal ever, but under the circumstances, this is the best that we can do for the people of the Republic of Ghana. Again, let me state this point in closing, that whenever it comes to energy matters, there's quite a lot of technicalities involved in there. So very often, what happens is that various positions are stated, technical jargons are thrown about, and then at the end of the day, the listener, the viewer, whoever is following the debates is left confused. So let's all look at it from the point of view of outcomes from the consumer. You are a consumer. I am a consumer. As a consumer of power in this country, what I am looking for is affordability and reliability. Is my power affordable? And indeed, can I rely on the power? There is no doom so. Now, after all the arrangements that were made by the NDC and all the policies that were introduced, it resulted in a hike in your electricity prices by over 42%. They claim that the arrangement and the policies that they introduced are the best. After all the arrangements and the policies that we have introduced so far and we are seeking to introduce, it has led to a reduction in the tariffs for all of us. So if indeed our deals are so bad, how come it is presenting the outcomes that we as a people want? That for everybody should be the determining factor, because again, as I have said, due to the somehow technical nature of these discussions, it is very easy to lose track of who is saying, of who is speaking the truth and who is not. So I'll implore all of us to look at it from the point of view of outcomes as consumers. What do we want? And which of these agreements, which of these arrangements is giving you those outcomes that you desire? And make up your mind from there.
All right. Thank you very much, Kofi Damwa, who's the head of communications at the Energy Ministry. And yes, we are enjoying a reduction in electricity tariffs, but we're learning now that it comes at a hidden cost. We're taking a break here on Join Us from Bring You Business News. Next, stay tuned.
Hello, good evening to you. Welcome to Business. Now, it has emerged that the Bank of Ghana spent over 8 billion Ghana cedis in supporting troubled banks and other institutions last year alone. This was captured in the Bank of Ghana's financial statement covering its operations for the 2017 financial year. But looking at the challenges facing some banks, will the central bank be able to recover these loans? The following Business Desk report has more on this and other issues captured in the financial statement.
The report showed that the 5.2 billion cedis was advanced to banks that were facing some liquidity challenges, whilst 3.3 billion cedis was also given to other government institutions. Already, the Bank of Ghana in the statement is projecting that a fraction of these loans would not be paid back on time, raising questions about these supports and whether the regulator might have to review these loans that are lended to the banks. However, a careful look at the numbers also showed that the stock of loans went down marginally from 5.7 billion in 2016 to 5.2 billion cedis in 2017. It is also clear that the regulator made a lot of advances in 2016 as the financial support went up from 1.8 billion cedis to 5.7 billion cedis in 2016. The 2017 financial report also showed that a part of its total assets of 58.8 billion cedis is locked up in bad debts. The Bank of Ghana also spent about 64.2 billion cedis this year on settling legal suits. These were mainly due to the cases brought against the Bank of Ghana in relation to contracts, supervisory role, as well as disqualified employees and alleged wrongful dismissal. The staff strength of the Bank of Ghana stood at over 2,000 ending December 2017, while the amount of coins and notes in circulation as at the end of the year stood at 12.1 billion cedis. Interestingly, as a result of some challenges in recovering loans granted to the financial institution, the Bank of Ghana recorded a loss of 1.6 billion cedis.
Meanwhile, the Bank of Ghana is looking into the proposed merger between GN Premium and Sahel Sahara Bank. This is what Joy Business has picked up from sources close to the central bank. But with some reports that one of the banks is no longer interested in the said marriage, what would happen if the approval is finally secured from the regulator? George Wiafe has more.
Sources close to the regulator say they are currently going through the requests submitted by the banks to really understand what they are seeking to achieve with the planned merger. This would then pave the way for the approval to be granted. That is, if they meet all the requirements for such marriage. However, sources say looking at the regulator's push to encourage more measures as some banks struggle to meet the new capital requirement, then it is likely that this proposal would be approved. However, there are some reports making rounds that one of the banks is no longer interested in pursuing the deal due to some differences. But our checks with the regulator proves otherwise, with the source insisting that the proposal has the blessings of all the three banks. GN Premium Bank and Sahel Bank are merging to help meet the new capital requirement of 400 million Ghana cedis. The proposed talks was said to have been finalized earlier this month. Joy Business is also learning that 2 other local banks are close to finalizing talks to merge. The governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, has indicated that at least 15 banks may meet the new capital requirement of 400 million Ghana cedis by December this year.
And away from the financial sector, industry players in the area of green energy are making a case for government to provide the needed policy framework that will enable financial institutions grant the needed credit facilities for green economy financing. This follows a report by the Partnership for Action on Green Economy, PAGE, with support from the United Nations Environment Programme, indicating Ghana's private sector is yet to take advantage of the benefits of green economy financing. There's more in this report.
The Partnership for Africa and Green Economy PAGE report indicated that as much as 80% of businesses in Ghana do not make investment into sustainable development projects. Private entrepreneurs and green financing say the report should leave government no option than to introduce a policy framework to help them access finance.
I want to see policies like SMEs having banks giving a certain percentage of their loans to SMEs for renewable energy development or sustainable development, and those policies actually shift the market.
So far, the report has blamed the reason for low participation in green financing on the inability for banks to provide credit to businesses into green financing. Bankers, on the other hand, say their focus is profit and not necessarily promoting green businesses.
Banks normally would focus on maximizing profit, and that's being able to give to our shareholders what they invest in financial institutions. So the main challenge is not with banks not wanting to do it, but for the first stage, we would have to try as much as possible to maximize the returns that we get from our shareholders, to be able to give them back on what they have invested in these financial institutions. So I think it's still at the early stages. Going forward, we would have more of capacity building trainings in this area. Institutions like the IFC, UNEP FI, these people have also taken up these projects to be able to help financial institutions grow themselves.
What is this whole thing about green financing? Well, it's very simple. Green financing is basically the grants, the investments, and the financial supports that commercial entities, including even that of government, provides institutions to aid in the agenda of sustainable development that subsequently complement the issues of green financing or climate financing in general. But based on this report that we're getting, it's very clear that the situation and statistics here in Ghana are woefully inadequate.
The report by PAGE is a partnership between UN Environment, ILO, UNITA, UNIDO and UNDP to support country-inclusive green economy initiatives by providing policy advice, assessment and evaluation tools with the aim to put sustainability at the heart of economic policy making.
Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia is calling on ECOWAS heads of state to ensure full implementation of the axle load policy on various corridors within member countries. The call comes in the wake of destruction of Ghana's highways by cargo-loaded trucks from neighboring countries with higher tonnage. He noted that Ghana has so far complied with the regulation since its introduction, unlike other ECOWAS member countries. Ebenezer Sabote has more in this report.
The sector, since the paperless project started, has introduced a number of tools in place to ensure that at any given time we are preparing.
The axle load policy requires member nations using any country with cargo vehicles as a transit point of goods and services to have a uniform tonnage. The ECOWAS Protocol on Movement of Goods and Services, which has been reviewed, began implementation on the axle load policy scheme to safeguard the road infrastructure for member states. At the launch of the 39th Council meeting of the Port Management Association of West and Central Africa, Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia stressed on the need for member countries to fully implement the policy.
All these initiatives will not be complete if adherence to rules and regulations which govern the administration of these initiatives are not adhered to. I will therefore take this opportunity to appeal to ECOWAS to effectively ensure the enforcement of the implementation of the Axle Road policy, which mandates all member countries to limit a 6-axle truck to a 60-ton loading capacity. As you are aware, or as you may be aware, Ghana has consistently complied and implemented this loading policy since 2009, when the enforcement came into effect. The goal is to protect the roads infrastructure in our sub-region. Unfortunately, it has been reported that not all other ECOWAS member countries are complying with this policy. It undermines regional cooperation and creates an atmosphere of unfairness in transit trade on the various corridors in the sub-region.
Dr. Bawumia has also been speaking about some initiatives to be championed by the Ghana Port and Harbours Authority to eliminate corruption at the ports.
For the most part, the goods never leave Ghana. Ghana will therefore be introducing, and we are in the process of introducing, the first port duty rule, hopefully before the end of the year. Under this rule, the customs authorities of our neighboring countries will have a presence in our ports, just as you have, say, in East Africa. So Burkina, Mali, Niger customs authorities will have a presence in our ports. And so if you claim that you are shipping this container to Mali, you just go to the Mali desk and pay your duty. You'll be in your system and you move on, or Burkina, and so on. I think this is a very good way for both of us, for all countries, to do so.
The three-day meeting is to deliberate on critical issues of port management in the various member nations.
And that's the by way of business on Joy News Prime. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Emmanuel Abuachi. Good evening.
The Techiman Police Command has shot and killed a suspected armed robber after what it says was an attempted highway robbery. Police Commander Superintendent George Afari Yeboah said the suspected robbers, in an attempt to rob market women heading towards Yeji from Doma, blocked the road near Agosa on the Techiman-Sunyani stretch in the early hours of Monday at about 12:30. The market women were being escorted by a police officer who, after the robbers fired shots at the minibus they were traveling on, returned fire. One of the suspects was shot and killed in the process, while about 5 others who escaped are currently on the run. The yet to be identified body of the killed suspect has since been deposited at the Holy Family Hospital morgue, and the police want the public, especially health institutions and herbal centers, to report and assist them arrest the suspects who bolted and are believed to have sustained gunshot wounds. Superintendent George Afari Yeboah briefed Joy News on the issue.
The body is deposited at the morgue, Holy Family Hospital, and we are waiting. We have sent pictures around. We have invited some informants around town so that they could come forward and help us identify him. We have also sent messages out there, and I will urge you, the media, to also help us to get the information down to the very people we are serving. It's like it is suspected that some of them might have received gunshot wounds. Definitely they will be going to the hospitals. They will be visiting traditional healers and those type of people. So we are appealing to them that whenever a person like that comes to you, you alert the police so that we will get him tracked to face the full rigors of the law. If they have the belief that they can overpower the police, or they can do something that will take us unawares, they are deceiving themselves. We are always around. When that information got to us here, before even the policeman could react, our patrolmen too were there. We were.
Elsewhere, 25-year-old Sia High School student has been released from the Kumasi Central prisons after spending 3 years on remand on suspicion of stealing a mobile phone. Peter Takbondo, a student of Dwyer Nkwanta Senior High School, who has always insisted on his innocence, was discharged on Friday after his case was heard by judges on the Justice for All program. Naya Ajima caught up with him immediately after his release from prison and has filed this report.
Peter was discharged alongside 5 other inmates from the Kumasi prisons by the Justice for All program. Sporting a white shirt over a pair of black trousers, his demeanor suddenly changes. He can hardly afford a smile as the thought of where to go next dawns on him.
I've been here for the past 3 years, but I am free to go home today. I couldn't complete senior high school due to my incarceration. One of my teachers visited me. She was shocked over my situation. I am late in all spheres of life. I have to start all over again. I have no idea how I'm going to make it. Going back to school will be difficult since there is no one to pay my fees. I pray I get someone to assist me learn a trade.
Peter lost his father some years ago. His aging mother was unable to support his senior high school education. He joined friends in Manso area to work at a mining site in a bid to find money to pay his registration fees. Little did he know his attempt to find the owner of a mobile phone he picked on the ground could land him in jail.
We used to work in the bush. We came to town one day to buy food. I saw this phone on the ground whilst we were on our way back to the site. I learned a suspected thief was burnt to ashes a day before. He's believed to be a part of a gang terrorizing residents. As a good Samaritan, I called a contact on the phone to help locate owner of the found phone. The woman at the other end asked for my location and other details. She came to my place the next day with police to arrest me. I told them I was innocent, but they wouldn't listen.
Executive Director of POS Foundation, an NGO involved in the Justice for All program, Jonathan Oseiwusu, says most of the individuals discharged or granted bail by the program face similar challenges. He says his outfit will need support to help Peter and others in similar need.
We are going to follow up on this matter. Now he has been discharged. He's supposed to go to his family house, and then we will make a follow-up call and find out what is happening to him. That is, if he is being given the necessary or needed assistance. Is he going back to school? Has he been given some vocation to do? And then we follow up from there, because we've done that previously on some of the people who were discharged, going to their homes to see. But that is very huge and very tedious. So, and it needs a lot of resources, which is not part of the main core of POS Foundation and the program. So we are still talking it over with other donors and other stakeholders.
Reporting for Joy News, Nanaya Ochima, Kumasi.
The Ghana Revenue Authority has launched an investigation into a possible transfer pricing case of possible transfer pricing at the Ghana Bauxite Company. According to the tax agency, the mining firm has failed to pay corporate tax on its production in recent times. This comes on the heels of a Joy News investigation which uncovered how the Ghana Bauxite Company evaded the payment of penalty for overloading haulage trucks to the tune of more than $90 million over a period of 6 years. This was done in connivance with some officials of the Ghana Highways Authority who operate the way bridges. After a year-long investigation, Joy News' Kwete Nate found that the state lost $22 million last year alone.
Documents obtained by Joy News reveal the Ghana Bauxite Company, GBC, which is run by Chinese corporations through Bozai Mineral Groups in Western Region, avoided paying over $8.2 million in 2012 for overloading haulage trucks with bauxite. In 2013, the records show the penalty fine was $10.3 million. 2014 was $12.9 million, while the figure for 2015 was $16.1 million. In 2016, the penalty was $20.2 million. Last year, the Ghana Bauxite Company evaded penalty charges of $22.2 million, bringing the sum total to over $90 million. A top official of the company, who pleaded anonymity, claimed overloading of haulage trucks is normal.
Overloading of bauxite at
our soil. It's a ritual which has been going on for a very long time. Yes, we could say most of the contractors are not happy with it, but because it's coming from the top, they have no choice than to comply. Because these Chinese guys, you know the way they work. If you are not in, if they decide for you and then you don't comply, you have to back out. So it's been going on for a very long time. I mean, the ISO weight loads are there, that the total weight, that means the gross, that's the cargo plus the tire weight of the trucks should be like 60. And I can tell you for a fact that they are not paying any client less than 30 tons.
The Highways Authority acceptable weight for haulage trucks is 60 tons. Any weight beyond this limit attract charges. For example, anything beyond 8.5 tons extra attract 5,000 cedis. Waybills of vehicles that convey bauxite for the company, cited by Joy News, reveal trucks carry 90 tons of bauxite instead of 60 tons. Asked how the bauxite company is able to overload without being questioned, the senior staff said they have insiders who alert them when Highway Authority sent mobile vans to check the practice on the road.
As for the victim, they can always beat it because there's an insider. And from the Ghana Highways Authority, we get alerts every day. Anytime they're going to come on the road, they alert you guys that we are coming. So it's either you come by 6 buckets or you don't even come at all. So there are indications where the haulers have been told that this time around we are going to load like 6 buckets. That should be the normal. So those 6 buckets will go. And for the day or the period that they are going to be around, you will see maybe 6, 7, 8 or less than 10 trucks as compared to the normal operation period of, let's say, 80 to 100 trucks a day. So they'll be using like 10 trucks just to deceive the public. And trust me, this is a syndicate. It's from the top. Ghana Bauxite pays for them. Highways are into it. Contractor managing the axle weights are also in there. So it's a syndicate which has to be unraveled.
Some residents of Bogoso in Western Region who claim their roads are being destroyed by the overloading have been waging a campaign against the practice. Muniru Ziblim is one of the campaigners.
Ghana Bauxite Company are taking overload using our road. So I started this investigation since September 9th, 2015. That time, RCC are constructing Bogoso to Ayamfre, Kappa to Ayamfre road. So when they started, after they are finished, you see that the bauxite cars are taking over. So you started requesting the invoices and then the waybill. And then you get some of the waybills. You started getting the waybills in 2000. You started getting the waybill in 2016.
Well, Deputy Commissioner in charge of larger taxpayers, Edward Jamra, says its audit has established that the Ghana Bauxite Company has been selling its bauxite to its mother company in China at a much cheaper price.
Aware, but you see, for corporate tax, it's not that the current company is not paying, but bauxite has not been paying corporate taxes for some time now, even before they take over. Since 2000 and they've been reporting losses. However, after they take over in 2010, I think February 2010 thereabout, the loss position has come down. So it's now improved.
Right.
Currently, they are showing profit per their financial statement. But because they have huge capital allowance carry forward and that of losses carry forward, which is allowed by the tax law, they've not been reporting chargeable.
And in the Netherlands, government has been cautioned about the impact of the double-track SHS system on university admissions as the debate rages. The minister in charge of tertiary education, however, says that is being taken care of. The executive director of the National Population Council is justifying her call for the enforcement of the government policy which caps the number of children Ghanaian couples can have at 3. Weighing arguments for and against the revised May deal, as the majority leader says the Attorney General is taking another look at the agreement. In business, latest Bank of Ghana financial statement for 2017 indicates the central bank spent over 8 billion cedis to support troubled banks and other institutions. Right, so that'll be all for the bulletin. But before we go, we're going to leave you with this odd story that's on myjoyonline.com. It has to do with the signature of this gentleman, which actually has gone viral. So he's gone viral because of his signature. And if you can look at it over there, you can tell that this Peruvian man, he recently got his 5 minutes of online fame after his curious signature went viral on social media. Instead of a typical scribble or just a simple X, this guy always signs his name with a childish drawing of a kitten. So you can see that on his driver's license, and also there in his signature. So there are several other instances where you've seen him sign or draw that kitten as his signature. You can read some more about this story when you go to myjoyonline.com. And that'll be all for the bulletin. My name is Israel. Thank you very much for watching. You have a good night. We have the Hotline documentary coming up next.
This is Joy News Prime.